Conquerors, once again I have my taskbar covering this. I think it's probably going to require a PC restart to actually fix it, so unfortunately probably going to have to put up with this for the duration of the stream, and I shall just stop moaning about it. But we are into game 4, is it? Let me just quickly check the score. Yeah, game 4, 2-1 to Melkor, and as the chat is discussing, pretty textbook Castle Age cavalry archer and siege push by the Hun player in the last game for Melkor to take a 2-1 lead. We've now got Mediterranean, and I'm pretty sure this WSVG Mediterranean isn't using the same script as the basic Mediterranean that comes with the game. And the reason I say that is that we've seen WSVG Mediterranean 4 or 5 times now in Clash of the Hippo, and every time the players seem to be facing off directly against each other on one side of the map and the water on the other side of the map. Whereas in standard AOC Mediterranean, normally the water's like properly in front of the players, so I quite like it. It means that you get a better balance of land and water gameplay here, with less of just walling off the sides and grushing. So I think this WSVG version of Mediterranean, if it is indeed different, which I'm pretty sure it is generating different types of maps, I think it is a good alternative to the classic or traditional Mediterranean that comes with the game. Kill my Explorer XE process and restart it after the game. Thanks, Giant Apple. I'll give that a go if I remember. Yeah, the only way I fixed this before is restarting my PC, I think. I wondered if restarting Vivy would work, but unfortunately not. Anyway, so focusing on the players' strategies here. Interesting, I think it's been Vikings Wars on Mediterranean, although I think some of the players went Biz earlier on the Loiser Yingua series, possibly. But for the most part, it's been Vikings Wars on this map. Rubenstock's gone with the Vikings, and he's ignoring the water. Whereas Melkor has gone with the Persians, which would suggest possibly more of a focus on the land, although Persians are still a pretty damn good civ on water through to the mid-game. And Melkor is the one who's gone on the water at the start, grushing the middle, only to find that the Viking player, perhaps engaging in a bit of psychological warfare, didn't bother to dock at all, and instead is attacking on the land, forcing Melkor into a panic archery range, which he's going to get up with a few villagers, but not without suffering some damage. No kills though. But the Vikings are hugely powerful in these settings, because the instant wheelbarrow at the start of the game just makes them just supercharged from the moment the game starts. And even in standard land maps in a 1v1 open map setting, they're not a top civ, but they are amongst some of the better civs in the game, without being a Huns or an Mayans or an Aztecs. So perfectly viable for Rubenstock to just pick Vikings and ignore and just go full land, even on this semi-water map here. And for the moment, Rubenstock is just happy to occupy this position outside of Melkor's base, and stop him from getting on golden wood there. Melkor went for that lumber camp straight away, and he's actually dropped that 100 wood, not got much wood back from it, and doesn't seem to be able to afford another lumber camp at this point, because Rubenstock, in his infinite cruelty, is deleting the stragglers of Melkor. This is something he talked about during his casting with Milford earlier of another series. I think it was the Max vs. Leary. Didn't manage to catch all of that, but in the part that I did see, it was Rubenstock urging his compatriot, the Max, to delete all of Leary's stragglers in a similar situation to this. So I talked to him at the beginning of Game 1 about how Rubenstock has seen the settings and has learned a thing or two. And basically he's now doing the things that he was advising his compatriot to do in the games earlier today. So he's certainly using that experience of casting the games to his advantage and actually playing in these settings now. He wanted to get a very cheeky walling up of the lumber camp and got a couple of tiles, but those skirmishers popping out of the archery range and the villagers combining with that to drive Rubenstock away For those who are unfamiliar with the trick, by the way, if you see your opponent's straggler trees have been chopped, you can't do it with a freestanding tree, but the moment they start to chop them, you can just place a palisade wall all over the top of them, and then just delete the tree. Really infuriating tactic. And you know, it's something you could argue shouldn't be in the game, but in 2016, when the game's been out for 17 years, I think, all players of a certain level are aware of these tactics and make use of them. And still we see a massive fight over this lumber camp. It's really unusual to see. I mean, obviously you see players raiding their opponent's wood lines all the time in games. But it's really odd to see the fight sort of centering over Melkor just trying to get on the lumber camp full stop. Because of the actual cost of building the lumber camp in the first place, he's trying to kind of recoup that investment. Obviously he managed to add another one down here, but he's keen to actually chop from 2 wood lines rather than the 1. And a lot of villagers roaming around here being quite inefficient, whereas for Rubenstock back at home, his villagers, as I mentioned, supercharged by the Viking free wheelbarrow right at the start of the game, and totally untouched as well since the beginning of the game, so he's kind of collected a lot more resources than his opponent up to this point. And he's actually 3 villages ahead as well. Melkor really didn't gain anything much from the investment in the dock and all of the galleys. I mean, he has water control, but he's only added 3 fishing ships up to now, and I imagine he didn't add those too early on, so really Rubenstock's decision to pick Vikings and then go full land just really paid off for him at this point. I want to scroll this overlay a little bit, just look at the total resources collected up to this point. You can see Melkor with about 2,400 resources compared to Rubenstock's 3,100-ish, so big difference there. About 1/3 extra resources for Rubenstock total collected between the idle time that he's inflicted and the free wheelbarrow and the slight advantage in villages. I mean, Melkor it's starting to look like the other hybrid land-water map we had in this. It's where Rubenstock went aggressive on the land and it just caged Melkor into that small area of his base and just gradually forced that area to become smaller and smaller until you had like 30 villages on 10 tiles. Really is looking the same sort of thing now. But at least in this instance, Melkor has stuff on the land to defend it. The issue is that Rubenstock has, with his scout transition that he's done now, half a dozen scouts backing up this after Melkor went skirmishers. Melkor's just in tons of trouble because he cannot take a fight against Rubenstock. It's that simple. The only thing that's keeping Melkor in the game right now is the fact that Rubenstock did not circle around here to attack the villagers from the other direction earlier, and that he's sort of lingering near the TC, and Melkor closing this area off just in time to avoid all of the scouts getting in on this woodline and berries area and GGing him. He needs to close this off in case Rubenstock finds that before he does so. The villagers there are kind of ready and waiting to do it, but no hole being closed just yet. But Rubenstock also has single-minded focus on breaking through that wall, whilst also spreading some units actually. So single-minded focus, not fair to say there. It's also, yeah, that's just a forward stable built up. This is some old strats, isn't it? Forward stable, and the scouts finally are braving the TC fire. There's probably not even that many villages in that TC anyway for Melkor to actually fire upon the scouts. They run through 4 villages and a skirmisher, and now there are half a dozen scouts inside Melkor's base. If only he'd got the archers and skirmishers in with them, then that could have been the killing blow, but they are now sealed out again, and Rubenstock may think twice about diving back in. Unless he adds 1 or 2 more scouts and gets scale barding armor. We did see that his stable had a sizable production queue, and that is indeed the case. 3 more garrisoned up, barding armor, and I think he'll get about 10 scouts and then just run in and be like, what are you going to do about this, Mr. Melkor? Because the simple fact of the matter is, he has no defense against +1 armor scouts at this point in open ground. Something I've mentioned a couple of times casting this tournament already, but I'll mention it again because it's really important here. The only way Melkor could fight this army right now is with some spearmen against the scouts, but he You struggled so much with wood in this game. You don't build a barracks before you build the archery range, so it's really tough for him to be like actually investing in a barracks to make spearmen against the heavy scout build, and obviously some skirmishers would kind of counter that as well. Melkor is actually just going to try and wall off his own TC, but he can't seal that completely because then he won't get able to get villagers to the wood line and the berries to actually collect resources and get them inside his safety pen. And there's a hole that's opened up here, so Rubenstock's running in and he's just slaughtering Melkor. Melkor isn't tapping out of this game just yet, but I imagine he will do soon. I said earlier on about him building a cage for himself, and that's exactly what's happened. He's totally trapped in. And it's just, he's built like a death cage for himself. It's like the UFC in here. Only Melkor's not doing any ultimate fighting at all, he's just dying. I don't know what more to add at this point as the scouts with +1 armor continue, and forging, continue to stream in. And depopulate Melkor's town. Bizarrely, after all that, he's only 5 villagers behind his opponent, which is astonishing. I don't get how that can be the case, but
yes,
most certainly the game is lost, and that's a quick victory for Rubenstock there. We've seen 2 quick victories for Rubenstock on the hybrid land and water maps here, and that makes it 2-2. So Rubenstock has been an adequate replacement for Winchester here. Many would have favoured Melkor to take this series after Rubenstock was announced as Winchester's replacement, but Rubenstock giving a really good account of himself in these games. The 2 games that he has won, he's won very convincingly, although the same could be said of Melkor's wins, particularly Game 3. So we'll have a couple of minutes break while the players transition to the next game, and that will be El Dorado, which is a really aggressive map, so I look forward to that one. UDC Ultimate Dying Championship. Yeah, I agree, Pata. Laming the stragglers was really important because Melkor, if he could have re-established some wood income, could have got back into that, but he was just floundering for quite some time, just trying to actually get enough wood to even build a second lumber camp in a new spot that he could defend. So it was a really important move by Rubenstock, and using a trick that he wanted Max to use earlier today. seems that the players did take a little bit of a break themselves, just like I did. Fortunately that coincided, but the spectator delay is moving now. We'll be about 30 seconds into game 5. Alright, here we go. Welcome back to Game 5, ladies and gentlemen. Currently 2-2 between Rubenstock and Melkor. This is WSVG El Dorado. I love this version as compared to the kind of watery version that I think was used in Clash of the Titans and some other tournaments. Just like the look of the more land-based map. But we still have the crazy sand-inhabiting fish diving out of the sand. You do see some strange sights in AOC, and this is one of them, along with Cobra Cars, which are being discussed in the chat right now. Yeah, it's 2-2 right now, as I was saying, so essentially a best of 3 from this point onwards. We've seen commanding victories in all of the games, I think, pretty much, depending on which player it was. Rubenstock winning the hybrid land and water maps with aggressive focus on the land for the most part, with Melkor perhaps playing the more standard AOC meta of focusing a bit more on the water on those maps and then being taken by surprise, especially in the first game when he didn't really scout either his balls or a potential area that he needed to wall off. But now we have El Dorado, and the last time I saw this map, I saw Slam and Tato play it with Britons and Chinese. This time we got Melkor playing with Britons. Rubenstock's going with the Byzantines, and that's a decent shout, really. I mean, it's a map where you have almost no gold, and it's quite difficult to take it, potentially, depending on where it is. And if Britons are a really powerful civ on this map, a possible choice this deep into the series as well, if the opponents haven't used them. So going with the Skirmisher civilization to counter a possible enemy Britons pick is a good shout by Rubenstock here. But equally, Melkor, pretty strong pick. The Castle Age crossbowman, able to really control the middle area as well. If the players actually manage to progress into the Castle Age, which is quite a way away, of course, but the players will be helped in getting there by making use of the deep fish. That's a lot of extra free fast food that you have around your TC, although to be fair, you kind of deserve it, because otherwise the area around the TC cannot be farmed because it's a different type of sand that can't be built on. It also makes walling to the TC and such a little bit harder. I hear a scout attacking a villager. That's the waller of Rubenstock. She could go down, possibly. 4 more hits. I think that scout should get 1 more hit and kill the villager. Wondered if she'd managed to get in behind the skirmishers just in time, but yeah, nice little early game pick for Melkor here. As he continues to add skirmishers. Noticeably, he was taking advantage of the deep fish, but Melkor was on just his sheep for now. But he is Britons, of course. As I was about to say, that's a bit weird. But I guess the Britons' sheep is actually faster. They're even taking shorefish, and I assume the deep fish are the same as shorefish as well. Although I'm not entirely sure that villagers taking deep fish, that is. It's not something you see every day, let's face it. But the deep fish are pretty damn fast to take, even if it's not exactly the same as shorefish. I bet Giant Apple knows the answer to that. Sandfish, yeah. Sand whales. Seems like Melkor is close to the middle. Good observation, yeah. G-Man streams. He is very close, and also this hill is pretty useful for him. I mean, if he gets his crossbows or archers and crossbows on that area, he's going to have quite a significant control over most of the middle from that area. Obviously, Rubenstock could get here and not suffer that hill bonus, but the map generation has certainly favoured Melkor a little bit more. Additionally, with his only starting gold and stone mines being in the back, whereas Rubenstock's are way out on the front and actually outside of the sort of partial wall off that he's got going at the moment. He hasn't taken much within his walls other than the food and wood, although players have so little in the way of mineral resources anyway. It's pretty cagey opening to this game, let's face it. We've seen one villager picked by the starting scout, but other than that, both players staying well at home. The only venturing out really by military is Melkor circling around the eastern part of the map with his archers, but I don't know if he's just planning to hide them there and go Castle Age. But now neither player with any significant bank of food, as Melkor's scout goes down, just failing to pick off that villager by one hit. Still quite a long way from Castle Age, so he's not going to hide them until then. I thought maybe he was going to click up and leave them there, but no. My sense of timings for like by what point in the game the player should have the food to go up and stuff is completely off, especially with the resource on this map being different as well, but mainly with the feudal age start and such. Both players investing a lot of early food in skirmishes though. Melkor did do the 5 archers to start off with, and I think he done fletching as he got the blacksmith. Bad fight for him just standing at the bottom of that hill there, wasting units. I mean, he was never going to win it due to numbers, but at least don't stand right at the bottom of the hill. But yeah, both players investing a lot of their early food into skirmishes, but whilst Rubenstock applies pressure and kills units at Melkor's base, I think that's the reason why he left his units at the bottom of that hill. He was more focused on microing this and diving past Rubenstock's TC, which is much easier to do, of course, because you can only build so close to the TC due to this unbuildable sand. And Melkor causing havoc in the back of Rubenstock's base now is more or less... Probably more than half of Rubenstock's remaining villages are not gathering resources at this point. Rubenstock, though, also doing good damage at Melkor's base. Not really picking vills too much. He's only done... 12 kills, but that has been mostly military at this point, I think. I don't think he's killed too many villagers, but he has forced them off wood and all around the TC. And this is echoes of the previous game where Melkor just struggling to take wood and place a lumber camp in a safe position. That will be vulnerable if Rubenstock circles around, and his scout has located it, so he's probably going to head over there right now. Rubenstock's cleaned up the archers in the back of his base with his skirmishers, and although he's a few villages behind, he's looking in good shape now, I think, because he's got such a large military advantage, 21 to 10 military on the field. He's got a scout with still some HP to help out against the skirms a little bit. Would help a lot more if it had 45 HP, of course. But Melkor's just kind of wandering around with a lot of his vills. The efficiency of his economy now is close to 0. And Rubenstock is looking in good shape to pick up a lot more villager kills here. He gets his army on this hill behind that wood line. He's going to be able to take the fight against the army and against the villagers. But for now, just microing backwards, picking up more villager kills and the idle time as the villagers chase. So Rubenstock initially suffering a lot of damage here, but he's at least made up for it, and I'd say probably more than made up for it at this point. Kill to death ratio certainly in his favour. A couple of villagers behind, but I feel like he's still in a better position because his military is just so much further ahead. He's taking fights uphill like he just doesn't care. I love how there's that one archer in this mix of skirms. You can spot the mercenary in there, and Melkor was calling the GG. I mean, it's 23 military to 6. There's nothing you can do. That many skirms can start like 1 or 2 shotting villagers. And fast game with Rubenstock taking the lead in the series. Unexpected, perhaps. Maybe some of you would have favoured Rubenstock over Melkor, but I think the betting, and certainly my opinion, was that Melkor would probably win this. But Rubenstock is just such a talented player. He really is. He plays RM 1v1, team game, deathmatch, all to a high level. Roughly 2,000 rated in all of those settings. So someone who's very well versed and able to adapt to when someone throws a slightly different brand of Age of Empires at him, as nearly has done with Clash of the Hippo here. I love that joke. He made the invites that a random replacement can take the series. Well, we'll see. Oh, and thank you to Giant Apple. Killing Explorer.exe and restarting it did fix the issue that I was having. So that is extremely helpful. Melkor's still favourite to win, says Dracont. Interesting. Yeah, Chaos Pit next. It's hard to say what will happen on that. I think it's a 50-50. But then with the last game being Dry Arabian, Melkor is obviously a favourite there. So I don't know if we'd say Melkor's still a favourite to take the series when Rubenstock's at game point on a map that is as odd as Chaos Pit next, where it's really a crapshoot. But certainly I'd agree with you if we go back to 3-3. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you there. Ice Cream, Giant Apple is a wizard. But here we go. We're into the 6th game, Chaos Pit, and neither player picking Celts. So, pretty standard thing to do here on this map is pick Celts and go to the outside, because you have to chop to the outside of the map where all the gold is. And obviously the fastest civilization to do that is Celts with their wood gathering bonus, and then you can go round the other side of the map and deny your opponent from exiting the inner ring. But the other option is just to, not think long term like that, and to think short term, and to just try and play very aggressive. Normally on Chaos Pit the two town centres are extremely close. And that's the situation we've got here. It's possible to have them even closer than this, and with the resources, the berries and deer sometimes being quite far from the TC, it's possible to apply a lot of the pressure to your opponent on this map. And Chinese and Byzantine, both good choices to do that. Byzantines obviously get the cheap trash to just try and overwhelm your opponents with a large army of units in the early start part of the game. Chinese, as I mentioned, are just so powerful and with a fantastic start anyway, because pretty much all the drawbacks to their start that the devs use to kind of balance the fact that they start with 3 extra villages are taken away or counteracted by the settings here. So Chinese are a Clash of the Hippo superpower, and so 2 good picks for each player here. Chinese also obviously they can go down the scouts or archery range units pretty nicely. Bloodline Civ, of course, so they can do both of those things well. And I guess it's a case of seeing how well the Byzantine trash mix is going to fight the potential scouts and archers that we'll get from Rubenstock. Normally you'd favour the archers to make quick work of the skirmishers, and then the spearmen in the front, and then the skirmishers to run them through. The scouts to run them through and kill the skirmishers. But Byzantines can field such large trash armies, who knows? Interesting lumber cap as well by Melkor. He's not bothered about going to the outside by the looks of it. Would rather just get going on the wood gathering straight away and then use that slightly faster wood gathering operation to start building a large army of trash. But Rubenstock already putting him on the defensive. The fact that you start with these resources and you can make scouts and archers in a not master, but get a good view of each unit straight away. It's a really powerful combined arms at the start, and we can see Melkor struggling. He's already giving up ground, and what he'll want to not do here is show Rubenstock his straggler that he's gathering from. Right now you can't quite see it, but we've already seen Rubenstock laming by deleting stragglers in this series. And it's gone. Although it seems Melkor finished chopping it, surely, because Rubenstock can't see it. Okay, that's fine. But you can see that one. Accidental view locks. And now we see Melkor going the barracks. So this is probably the first time we've seen a barracks in a series, possibly. Something I continually mention with these settings. I keep mentioning it, but barracks is a sizable investment. But when you're Byzantines and you're planning to go trash, it's obviously more likely that we'd see that to protect those skirms from the scouts a bit. Let's have a look at Rubenstock's base. He's also gone on the inside as well. So both players just with that laser-like focus on being aggressive in the early game and getting the economy running just 10 seconds earlier. Making sure each villager just has 10 seconds less to walk before they start to gather. but it's the Chinese player with the powerful sort of Scouts Archers combo that's got the strategic advantage at the moment. And also a hill bonus in the back of Melkor's base right now. Both players trading some units there, but Rubenstock, I was going to say he's coming off slightly the better still with his KD, but 4-3 now, sort of even. But all the stragglers have gone for Melkor now. I haven't paid attention to see if any... Oh, yeah, look at this. Rubenstock's up to his usual trick. He's deleted 2 stragglers. He sees there were 2 more there for Melkor, but they have been chopped. And Melkor needs access to a lumber camp on a stand of trees pretty damn soon, or he's going to be out of this game. He's starting to finally get the military numbers to push some of these scouts and such away with the help of the spears. But as I say that, the spears in the villages, I mean, but as I say that, reduced to just the 1 spear there and just a few skirmishes, so the scouts can still do good damage. With a second spear, which Melkor now has, he can finally feel safe from those scouts, I think. Especially if the villagers just help out a little bit. But it's been a rocky start for him. He's still 2 villages ahead though. And that is interesting considering Rubenstock also was Chinese, who should be 3 villages ahead straight away at the start of the game because of the start combined with the settings. So I think Rubenstock's been idling TC whilst putting on this pressure. And therefore perhaps he hasn't gained as much from it as he could have done, but still, as we look at total resources collected, it's well over 2,000 resources. Well, not well over, but about 2,100 resources for Rubenstock there, whereas Melkor's only gathered about 1,600 resources total. So Rubenstock with a big advantage of about an extra 1/3 resources. This is an echo of the Mediterranean game from game number I cannot remember. Just idling and harassing Melkor's economy so much that he gets really far ahead in terms of resources collected, and that's what we're seeing here once again. Have a look what else is going on around here. A couple of forward sort of radar houses almost from Rubenstock. It gives him a little bit of extra line of sight over what Melkor's doing, although without Town Watch it's pretty pitiful indeed. I'm kind of wondering why he sent a villager forward all over there. He could almost have been thinking, oh, let's drop a tower, and then remembered he doesn't have any stone because this is Clash of the Hippo mod. Melkor's established a defensive perimeter now, but he's got a lot of ground to make up. The Vil difference is evened out. So Melkor adding in a second archer range now to continue to mass skirms, presumably. I mean, there's no gold to mine in the middle, so it looks like he'll commit to a heavy feudal play. He does have 300 gold in the bank, so he can add a few archers if he chooses to, but he'll definitely want to get fletching. Right now he's making sure that Rubenstock doesn't break through his wall. So that's going to be pretty difficult because those scouts can do a lot of damage to that wall in the time that it takes the scouts to kill the skirmishers to actually kill them, even from uphill. But re-walling possible, of course, and Melkor is getting that second layer of wall to dissuade Rubenstock from entering. Fletching kicks in for Rubenstock, already there for Melkor. But the game does seem to have stabilised. Of course, Rubenstock is at an advantage. He's got Chinese eco. It is superior to the Byzantine economy, of course, and he's collected more resources in total up to now. But the villagers have evened out, and you know, even though Rubenstock is at an advantage here, Melkor, the possibility of making a comeback is still there. Pretty notable how Rubenstock does have like a nicely balanced economy though. He's getting a lot of farms, he's about to start taking deer, whereas for Melkor it's all very, very messy, inefficient villages, no real farming economy to speak of at all. And he's ventured out of his base now, but the skirmishers have been abandoned by their spearmen bodyguards and they're being run down by the scouts. Waiting for +1 armor, which will help. But there's not really much production from his archery ranges at the moment. So Melkor's presumed plan to pick Byzantines and outmass his opponent in the feudal age with a large army is not really going to plan right now. Military numbers basically even between the two players. Rubenstock is just dying to actually catch these skirmishers out of position and go in with the scouts. He's now split his army and got a much smaller number of skirmishers up against Melkor's ones, which have the +1 armor as well. So it's actually bringing Melkor inch by inch a little bit more into the game as his army numbers start to become quite a bit better. And with the skirmisher numbers for Rubenstock diminishing, those spearmen are really much more useful against the scouts, given that they won't be so easily picked off. Nonetheless, those skirmishers are just so poor against scouts that they're still having to retreat. Surprised Rubenstock didn't quickly jump into the TC there, get some extra arrows fired at Melkor's army. But certainly Melkor's done a good job of stabilising in this game. Let's check the resources between the two players though. Melkor really should think about dropping a market, I think, and balancing his economy out. Rubenstock, meanwhile, floating a bit of resource, but certainly is not going to go Castle Age anytime soon, and he's actually committing heavily to the feudal age now. Going for a double stable and double archery range play, so he's going to be just making so many units now. Lots of scouts and skirmishers because they can't get gold. And I think we'll see this game potentially decided in the feudal age. The interesting thing is that Melkor just is being totally walled at home. Like, he's not under any threat now, so if he's able to keep the fight in Rubenstock's base, then he may be able to do the damage to get ahead. The issue though is that Rubenstock does have just so much production facility at home that he can quickly outmass and also sort of vary his composition a bit, and that has seen Melkor get driven away there. Those skirmishers no longer having any scouts around, sorry, any spearmen. Those skirmishers not having any spearmen around them and the scouts killing them. The Saracen team builders can sometimes be quite useful. On the arena or fortress maps where you only get palisade walls instead of stone walls, Saracens are awesome in that. But it is highly situational. Yeah. Melkor with the score lead, says T90 official, and yeah, he's done a really good job of getting back into this game. Although I think Rubenstock, he didn't really drive home the advantage that he had. He's let Melkor just take a few favourable fights here and there, and Melkor, with his kind of back to the wall, has really sort of gone from the point where it almost looked like it was over and Drakont was saying he was wrong and it's GG. He's actually just turned it around and he's now completely out fighting Rubenstock on the edge of Rubenstock's base, despite there being 2 stables and 2 archery ranges here, and Rubenstock having all of these farms. He's just not getting units into the fight. He's streaming them in 1 by 1 pretty much, or 2 by 2, and for the most part the lack of massing up of units is seeing them get picked off. Got no upgrades on the scouts either, I don't think, last time I checked anyway. And now Melkor has the nice economy at home with a lot of farmland surrounding all the mills. He's almost chopped out to the outside, and if he gets gold, then this is going to be pretty over for Rubenstock, I think. That will be pretty huge. Rubenstock was also chopped out, but Melkor is going to discover that now, as well as going to the back of his base, find all the lumberjacks and take them down, and driving Rubenstock off stone as well. He's completely encircling Rubenstock, and finally the Finnish player is getting a taste of his own medicine, because there's been a couple of games where I've kind of described Melkor as being caged in by Rubenstock, and finally the trap is being laid by Melkor, just encircling, and he's actually hunting around the outside of the map, assuming Rubenstock must have gone out and got gold from somewhere. or just sent villagers to outside wood or something, just hunting prey out there. But he's not going to find anything because Rubenstock is still fully in the middle for now, and just hemorrhaging vills left and right. That said, the villager counts is still quite even, so although Melkor is certainly an advantage here, clicking up to the castle age when his opponent has 0 resources, I was expecting the villager counts to be a bit different. Just because it seemed like quite a few were going down whilst these units were in the back of the base and picking off farmers and such. Nonetheless, with Melkor on the way to the castle age and Rubenstock completely trapped in feudal, and Melkor having access to gold whenever he wishes, let's just see if he actually sees that. Not yet, but he will do almost instantly when he sends some vills outside. It's going to be so tough for Rubenstock to do much in the kind of next 5 minutes because Melkor has so many options if he just gets on gold. Elite Skirmisher upgrade is an obvious candidate. Oh, my throat's getting a bit scratchy from casting too much, talking too much. But yeah, obviously Elite Skirmisher is a good option along with getting the gold for Bodkin Arrow and such, and you can choose to add in some Knights, some Mangonels, and finish this before Rubenstock manages to get into the castle age pretty much. Still doesn't seem overly concerned about going for the gold right now. Does he have a market? No, he hasn't built a market either. He has a, yeah, there we go. He's going to go for the gold. And I was going to say, if he did have a market, he could stand to sell a couple of hundred food if he wanted to. Do we? Yeah, instant GG from Rubenstock. I was just about to say, do we see the GG straight away? I'm not surprised. Rubenstock knows he's dead at this point. So great comeback by Melkor. I think Rubenstock could have probably played it better with the advantage that he had. I mean, the likes of Drakon were calling GG in Rubenstock's favour there, but Melkor clawed it back, and Game 7 will be had. So perhaps you were right all along, Drakon, if you fancied Melkor to take that one, because certainly on Arabia, Melkor has to be considered the favourite. In 1v1 rated games, Melkor is primarily an Arabia player, and although this is Clash of the Hippo and a bit of unusual settings, it certainly does still favour Melkor, and he won the Game 1 on Dry Arabia as well. But yeah, Game 7, and also this is the first series in Clash of the Hippo that hasn't finished 4-2, so all of you claiming that it was rigged, every series in Clash of the Hippo is not rigged for 4-2. And yeah, I agree with you there, Drakon. That was one of the mistakes that certainly cost Rubenstock, and also I think just seemed to idle his TC quite a bit, because after that early game fighting, he was 2 villages behind when he should have been 3 villages ahead because of being Chinese, and he was in the back of Melkor's base attacking villagers, or at least idling them, and somehow fell behind on villagers during that time. But good job by Melkor to come back from such a disadvantage anyway. The song, well, is Enigmatic Soul by Two Steps From Hell. It's the Invincible album by Two Steps From Hell. You'll hear that played a lot on Vibly Official. We use Two Steps from Hell's music quite a lot because most of it doesn't get muted by Twitch and YouTube, so it's good for us to play in between games and make sure our VODs aren't muted. But anyway, Game 7 is about to start, so enough of that rubbish about music. Here we go. Dry Arabia 3-3. It's a best of one to decide who goes through to the quarterfinals and participates in the marathon streaming event for the last few rounds of Clash of the Hippo that Nilly will host here on Vibly Official all day, both days next weekend. Melkor in red and Rubenstock in blue again. Both players choosing Mongols for this Game 7 decider. We see a stable opening for Rubenstock, and we see a stable opening for Melkor, so both players taking the same decision at the start. I like it. They'll be able to get out a good amount of scouts pretty damn quickly if they take the boars early on. I think stealing a boar would be a really big thing to do as well here, just to help you get out an extra few scouts, stop your opponent from doing so, and that's exactly what Melkor's going for. So he is laming at this deciding Game 7, no holds barred. We've seen that laming is harder and the settings because you start in the feudal age and the scouts move faster. But Melkor, having failed a lure for precisely that reason multiple times in an earlier games, doing a better job of it here and zigzagging back where necessary here to make sure that boar comes in all the way, and sending his own starting 2 scouts out in front of his own 2 boars to make sure his doesn't get stolen. So just as I was talking up the potential importance of stealing a boar in this game, Melkor does exactly that, and I expect him to be able to get out to a military numbers advantage with both players doing the scouts as Mongols here. Nonetheless, there is a large starting budget of food, of course. Even if 80's food a pop, the scouts can chew through that pretty quickly. Also important to note that deer for Rubenstock are really not in the best spot to actually mitigate that boar loss, with both of those deer being forward and not particularly pushable, especially when you don't want to be pushing deer with a scout anyway, because you've got the action from minute 1. Nonetheless, though, it's Rubenstock who will launch the first major attack of a sorts, heading out with his main group of army and trying to find some targets in Melkor's base, along with just getting the scouting information. He's obviously right now he's finding the gold and the stone. He's going to locate the lumber camp. Obviously, a huge line of sight with those Mongol scouts as well, but Melkor's going to make sure his wood line stays protected, sending over 1 more scout than Rubenstock had and driving him away. And Melkor now starting to consume his 3rd boar. Could do with sorting this out a little bit, but it's just a minor thing. It's certainly at a good advantage here with the boar. What the hell is going on in the chat? I do not know. Whose face that is. Grass K-Cab. That would be awesome. Anyway. Scout fight not really taking place, just a couple of hits, but Melkor with 2 extra scouts. As I said, I think a boar steal would enable one player to field a large army of scouts very quickly. That's exactly what happened, and even getting an early wheelbarrow. So Melkor is feeling very rich indeed. Early wheelbarrow and bloodlines, and he's got 3 more scouts. This is a really big advantage for Melkor right now. As Rubenstock goes out and tries to wall the northern part of his base with a very large wall, that's going to cost quite a bit of his wood and villager time to actually complete that. But he's sensing he's at a big disadvantage now, and he's walling off like crazy, but the scouts are already past this front barrier that he's trying to build, and with those scouts having the massive line of sight to see Melkor coming forward, he's already running vills. If he's checking his opponent's scouts now, you'll see the bloodlines. These walls have been not completed. There's a hole there, but I think with the proximity of the TC, Melkor won't choose to go in. Nonetheless, all the time Rubenstock is falling behind while his vills are idled, whilst they spend all this time building walls, and they also don't have the wheelbarrow in powering them up either. Melkor has the pedal to the metal right now. Going up to gold as well. So might be thinking about an archer transition afterwards. So See if he's still producing scouts. Seems to have stopped that completely. Getting bit axe, going out to berries. I think he'll, after this very fast start, he'll probably start to transition more to archers. But he's maybe taking his eye off the ball a little bit. All of his army is in Rubenstock's base. And Rubenstock is now killing villagers and idling villagers back at Melkor's. And that has prompted Melkor to go home. He can't really do damage to Rubenstock at this point in terms of villager kills, and so his best use of the scouts is to send them home. But that's a good payout for Rubenstock to slow his opponent down. He was previously racing ahead. With Melkor's army having come home, though, Rubenstock does need to get out of there, and I can't see him doing any more damage to Melkor's base now, to be honest. Principally, he was able to do that because Melkor just had all of his army in the back of Rubenstock's base, not really able to achieve much. But Melkor should go back on the offensive now. Much larger army and bloodlines. With one villager on gold, Melkor could even consider just keeping this scout advantage that he already has and trying to target Castle Age. Because he has to sense that his opponent will be so much more delayed compared to him. And Rubenstock is also struggling for the food income as well because he can't actually just get on these berries either. So Melkor with wheelbarrow taking his berries, similar amounts of farms, does have a sizable advantage in terms of food income. And he's not able to take his deer though. Like Rubenstock, Melkor has pretty forward deer that he won't be able to consume. But now both players disengaging, being a bit more passive and warming up. There's a game 7 of a tournament. Of course, both players have given a good showing up to this point. Played some very strong games and some arguably very weak games. "12 minutes and still Ruben didn't kill a unit." Yeah, but even so, Melkor only got 3. That said, 1 or 2 villagers amongst them, I think. My memory serves me correct. Melkor is behind by fewer villagers than he should be, given that he got wheelbarrow. So I think Melkor must have killed at least 1 bill. Horse collar kicking in. Rubenstock unfortunately made quite a lot of farms before getting the horse collar, but at least he does have it. Didn't really notice if Melkor got it already. I'm not going to bother to check the tech tree. Don't want to miss anything in a deciding game 7. Looks like Rubenstock will finally get this full wall off in front of his base, and that will allow him to finish off his berries as well, but does kind of leave his scouts outside to deal with their fate, and that fate is to be killed off. 3 of them going down straight away. There were some low HP ones amongst them, so that makes sense. But now those scouts are in, and Rubenstock having to do some quick walling off in the interior again to stop them running through to the lumber line and causing havoc. But will Melkor go for the TC dive? He wanted to, but Rubenstock also reacted quickly and Melkor went back. He's going to try and take advantage of this little hill here. He's desperate to dive past the TC, but he would sustain quite a lot of damage in doing so. Some of these scouts are low HP. But he's going to go for it. I mean, Rubenstock still only has 4 scouts with no bloodlines. Even taking that much damage on the way through, he might be able to take this. Although 1 scout very low, another scout very low. This is kind of close. But either way, if the scouts were to survive for Melkor now, the villagers en masse will be able to deal with it. The important thing though is that Melkor is on his way to the Castle Age, and he didn't get Horse Collar up to now before having made a lot of farms. Not the end of the world. Unfortunate, but not the end of the world. But yeah, let's see what he's going to do with the Castle Age transition. He's starting to collect some stones, so perhaps just going to play it safe and go for the more boom-oriented approach. You do need to take stone to add town centres. He's floating a ton of resources right now, which is one reason why the score is just so much in his favour, despite having gone up to the Castle Age, as well as doing slightly better on the kills and deaths. Rubenstock on his way, around 2 minutes behind, but with a lot fewer resources there. Seemingly Rubenstock is being a bit indecisive about what he wants to build there. Could have been 2 archery ranges that he threw up and then decided to destroy. I don't know. Going out to stone as well anyway. So probably looking for TCs and maybe even stone walls, because he obviously, just from the score, he will know that he's behind here, but with it being a game 7 he'll fight on. Melkor meanwhile, bowsaw, heavy plough, TC. Very much the macro approach here, the booming up the economy and looking to the long term. You know, once he knows he's got an advantage in a earlier Castle Age, better early game, he's just gonna consolidate that by racing ahead in economy. In Age of Empires, games so often snowball, and an advantage can turn into a bigger advantage quite easily. And that's what we're seeing now from Melkor. I think Rubenstock, if he just booms, then he's going to really struggle, because Melkor will just accelerate ahead of him. But he's added a second stable and he's building a market, so I don't think that's the approach he's going to take. I think it suits his skill set as well to be more aggressive. Actually buying 100 stone, he's going to add a town centre. Already mining stone, but he wanted that TC right now, it seemed. 800 food in the bank, interesting. But maybe he's not going to be aggressive. I question his decision to add in a second stable. I mean, he's made a second stable that he's not produced anything from, and now he's buying wood to make a new TC. I think he's been really indecisive here. We saw this happen, like he deleted what I assume were 2 archery ranges. Or maybe there were stables, but that would have been crazy to add a second and third stable. And now he's made a second stable not to build anything, and he's basically just giving up resources by manipulating the economy unnecessarily there. He's only now getting wheelbarrow as Melkor gets handcart, so that tells you a lot about the relative positions of the players. And Melkor also just knowing that neither player really has too much on the field, or assuming so anyway. Just happy to send monks out into the middle of the map, collect all the relics. Going to be getting a second there and a third up here that he knows about, and he's also got one right outside his walls that he can see. In fact, he's explored almost the entire map, so that's one reason for this intimidating score difference. He's trying to just make his opponent rage quit by exploring the whole map. Legit Mongol strategy. I mean, that difference in exploration is about 30% at least, I would say, and that's worth 300 points. So that's partly where this 900 points comes from, but even so, obviously Melkor well ahead anyway, more or less 10 villages ahead and some economy upgrades ahead, as well as military. But I think for now Melkor will be happy to just boom up and race into the late game and make the final push. Rubenstock meanwhile doesn't want to go aggressive and just chance his arm. He's going to go to a 4th TC and try and catch up on the boom himself. I don't know if he can do that really. Melkor's not going to go to a 4th TC, but Rubenstock is already 9 villages down and all the relics down, as well as a lot of economy upgrades. So although I'm talking about stuff that Rubenstock won't be fully aware of, even if he could guess it, I still feel like Rubenstock is probably just prolonging the inevitable by taking the approach that Melkor did, and then just trying to catch up. Rubenstock adding in a monastery, but what he doesn't know is that there are no relics left on the map for him to take. His exploration of the map is insufficient to find all the relics anyway, but he's actually going to go 5th TC, so he will catch up in the villages. But obviously, he's just going to be investing more and more, running 5 TCs at the same time. Also mining a lot of stone, trying to get a castle quickly. If Melkor doesn't kill him straight away, then Rubenstock can obviously catch up in the boomer, but the issue is he's got the 5 relics in the bank, and he's already on the way to Imperial Age. With just a few Mangudai and a single Treb, he can probably begin to apply a great deal of pressure against Rubenstock, whose full boom and will be confined to the Castle Age for, well, I'd have said a long time, but he's actually banking quite a lot of resources once again. I wasn't expecting him to have as much food as that. Thank you, Tato, for the host. Couldn't quite read that on my phone, on the mobile quality that I had on, just to check the streams running, but thanks for the host. Well, yeah, Melkor on his way to the Imperial Age, Bodkin Arrow, Ballistics, getting all the upgrades from Mangudai, of course. Not able to really produce many. He's actually not producing any at all from that castle at the moment, and only the one castle, although he can now afford a second one, which it will be advisable for him to put down somewhere pretty soon. Thumbring moving out to take control of the extra golds on the map. He's just playing this very, very safe. And with Rubenstock's Imperial Age time, I'm really quite impressed that he managed to not only get ahead of Melkor in villagers, but also only be about a minute behind to Imperial. The issue is in the sort of about 15 minutes time, probably, that the relics will just decide it, especially if all of the extra golds are on the side of Melkor. But he certainly has a chance to come back in this game, but he's still very much second in the race, with Melkor leading in Mangudai production and going to be able to produce more of those, get the upgrades, get a Treb out, and also he's going to be faster onto a second castle. Rubenstock's now building a second one. Where is that? Okay, in the northern part of his base to protect this area. Perhaps he could have put it here to protect both golds. But he doesn't actually see that his extra gold is there, which could be quite important. You can see that Melkor is lurking there. Melkor now manipulating the market heavily to try and balance his economy to get all of the upgrades that he needs. And it's an absolute bevy of upgrades. Leather archery, armor, Parthian tactics, chemistry, we've already seen, thumbring, ballistics, all of that. Elite Mangudai as well. Rubenstock going straight away for Elite Mangudai, but a real paucity of other upgrades on them. Almost wish I could ungarrison the castle to see. Whoa! Almost thought I'd create the Mangudai then. That's the interactive spectator feature that someone was joking that you could have on HD the other day. I'm pretty sure that was an old HD bug, but we won't go there. Smarthian tactics. You won't get tired of it, will it? Will you? I can assure you, Smarthy, there are no Smarthian tactics on display in this game. And yes, Melkor does have all 5 relics, which is really important. And like I said, all the extra golds are on his side of the map, so Rubenstock's on a clock to win this game. And he's got to do it from a sizable deficit. Melkor now with double the military, but the only thing in Rubenstock's advantage is that he was 10 villages ahead. I say was because these Mangudai are quickly equalising that, although Rubenstock could get the kills now. But having said that, the upgrades differential is such that Melkor might even have taken that fight if it was on the level footing. And that has catapulted Melkor into the lead in villages so quickly. You can imagine that he built 4 or 5 villages from his TCs and around a villager production and just killed like 10, and just in the blink of an eye, Rubenstock goes from 10 villas ahead to 10 villas behind pretty much. Monks guarding the gold, which Rubenstock does now see with the line of sight from his castle. But Melkor is starting to spread over the whole map like a rash. This is a good position for an extra castle after building his first few, because it basically controls Rubenstock's entrance into the whole left side of the map here. It's almost Mr. Yo-like, this castle, just putting them on, I'm not going to say random hills all around the map, because he carefully chooses the placement, but this is how he likes to take control of the map in his trademark way, and we see Melkor doing it here. He's just basically building a blockade across the middle of the map, castles and siege workshops, spreading his military out, looking to do some damage wherever he can. And we have a pause here with capped ram and drill on the way for Melkor, so waiting for the Ferrari siege rams, what it looks like, the Mongol fast siege rams, to actually deal the killing blow whilst he continues to harass and poke at the edges of Rubenstock's base with his Mangudai. With the upgrades and army advantage that he has, he could almost risk a venture into the back of Rubenstock's base. I mean, Mangudai parked somewhere here maybe would do a lot of damage, or somewhere here if he chose to run in. Obviously, currently he doesn't have the that level of information to know exactly where to put his Mangudai based on where the villages are, though sort of does, I guess. But he's probably wary of how much military Rubenstock could have to trap him, and quite rightly so, actually. I hadn't realised Rubenstock had this many Mangudai here. But the upgrades differential is huge. +3, +1, +4, +4 in terms of attack and defence. I don't know how many things Rubenstock has, like thumb ring and ballistics. Just now getting chemistry and leather archer armor, and there's the thumb ring. So Melkor's army is still quite a bit stronger, and he is going to dive in. He's going to go for it, as I suggested he might choose to. It is a risk, but he knows he's ahead in terms of upgrades if he's seen any Mangudai from Rubenstock recently. The numbers differential is in this particular fight, with a couple of Melkors going down, is in Melkor's favour, but he's out microing and making use of those better upgrades to trade favourably as he retreated out of the trap between the TCs. And not sure why Rubenstock sent all of his Mangudai away, because it's this is a problem for him, but he's coming back now, and he should trap those, and with more upgrades having kicked in the last minute or two, he should now clean this up, and that will kind of even the military numbers, but it won't even the strategic position as we get stream ended. Interesting. Retreating to the lobby, and it says game starting in 6 seconds, so it seems they will restore. No idea what happened there. I assume it was a drop by one of the players. But both players are still here, and they're restoring, as Nilford says. Believe in Rubenstock. Rubenstock, take my energy. Everybody's supporting Winland, of course. Those Finns are pretty popular in AOC. Rubenstock is in a big cage. Yeah. Yeah, the Mangudai are a bit weird because they like shoot the arrow basically before they've run the animation to actually fire the arrow. Like, it's disconnected. But yeah, they're pretty nifty for microing because of that lack of delay. Yeah, for those who are arriving as well, Rubenstock did take Winchester's spot. The players did go back into the game and launch it, but the spectator delay got stuck, so I assume they had a pause like 10 seconds after restoring. So we're just holding here for now until they unpause. I don't know how you can mix up me and T90. Our voices aren't terribly similar, and he's American and I'm British, so our accents are dissimilar to quite a large extent. So I don't know how that's possible. Hell Rider 23. They're both pretty posh. That keeps getting leveled at me. It's not exactly true. Alright, the game did restore. Let's see what happens. Melkor does have 5 relics, let us remember that, as Rubenstock cleans up all of that armor in the back of his base. We go restore again. Try Alt Enter, Alt Shift Enter. It seems Rubenstock has some kind of technical problem. Let me check the game lobby. They came back again? So the players came back, but not all of the spectators and streamers came back, so just waiting to see what their intention is. Or when I say came back, they resumed the lobby. Restore. Okay. Milmano is the fake Nelson. No. Milmano is one of a kind. Leave you to decide whether that's in a positive or negative way. Took me a good 6 months to not mix up Milmano with SMB. I can understand how you possibly could find accents similar, because although we're from different places, Milmano lived not in my hometown, but kind of in my home region for the last few years. So you could have kind of acquired my accent a little bit, although my accent is not my area's accent, because I kind of picked up a new accent when I went away to uni. It's funny how much of the conversation of a C stream revolves around accents and stuff. Normally I get mixed up with Zero Empires, which I kind of get because of the Britishness if you're not British, but I'm not being able to tell the difference too much. But our voices aren't the same. And yes, Clemenceau is the one who sounds like Nelson. Wiki was around earlier today. It's good to see him. Hope he's doing well. Believe it or not, I'm actually from the West Midlands. Not Birmingham. A little bit outside of Birmingham, so I don't have a Brummie accent, although people think I do. What else we got here? Yeah, I think Clemenceau and Nelson were once playing a team game together where they were both pockets or both flanks, and the respective pockets and flanks that they had absolutely no idea what was going on because they were on TeamSpeak and they just couldn't tell the difference between them. It's a pretty amusing story. We do have movement on the spectator delay once again, but it's just stuck on the same time, so it won't actually launch the game, and they probably paused the moment it launched. It seems Rubenstock, I think, is having some technical problems. If they persist, then he may tap out of the game, I guess. Because I mean, obviously getting to Game 7 he wants to give it a go, but he's at a severe disadvantage here, although that fight going well in the back of the base for him will lift his spirits in terms of continuing on here and trying to mount a comeback. No, Rubenstock is not MBL Smurf. Rubenstock is a legit player, but MBL did make an MBL Smurf. Sorry, MBL did make a Smurf that is a play on Rubenstock's name, but it's not actually Rubenstock. Right, we have Age of Empires launch. The spectator delay did elapse. Pause at the start of the game. Still nothing moving. Try and figure out what's going on here. The players didn't come back to the lobby this time. They didn't resume the lobby, so I think they are just paused and Rubenstock is trying to resolve something. Don't know what, but we just have to play the waiting game. Well, here we go, some movement. So we've already seen that fight once and all those Mangudai die, so I don't know which version they restored. But I guess they didn't like save that 5 seconds before, but the same result, of course. Rubenstock cleaning that up, and that equalises the Mangudai numbers quite a bit at this point. Finally catching up completely on upgrades as well. He should be killing these monks. They'll go down now. Let me just slow this game down a bit. It's too fast. But yeah, completing the upgrades, Rubenstock. The only issue is that Melkor is researching, but I think he's already got drill. He's researching siege rams, so he's preparing to push with siege on the front. And although Mangudai are a good answer to rams, Melkor will of course have his own Mangudai in the background as well. Melkor even getting masonry to protect his castles by increasing their hit points. I think Melkor is just taken a play it safe approach to this game, pretty much to the entirety. Huge fleet of Mangudai circling around the southeast here. Even getting town patrol, and with the way he's spread his buildings across the map, he's going to have line of sight to almost the entire map once that kicks in. That's going to be pretty crazy. He knows his vulnerability in Rubenstock's eco is down here as well, which is why he sent most of his Mangudai around, and he can kill so many villagers so quickly with this number of Mangudai. Rubenstock a bit out of position, trying to go home to deal with it, but he's going to lose so many villagers in the process. Like the way Melkor just left a few Mangudai here and then carried on to go in with most of what he had. He's almost returning to the site of where he was originally cleaned up and lost so many units, but this time it's going to be a lot harder for Rubenstock to actually clear him up. Even though I think he's probably still got a couple more Mangudai there and the upgrades are now even. I guess could Melkor be using this distraction to then mount a push with a secondary army? Seems so. Massing up quite a good number of Mangudai here. He's got the siege rams and he can more or less blitz these castles on this hill whilst his other force of Mangudai has pulled Rubenstock's main army out of position. Been a good raid for Melkor. The issue is Rubenstock is now trapping him in with 2 siege workshops and a house going down. He can effect the trap, of course, with Rubenstock, but the numbers here are still quite even. If Melkor was to sit there and take the fight, I think it would, when the dust settled, it would be quite even, but Melkor running around a lot there and losing a lot of extra units, and now it's gone easily in Rubenstock's favour. I really do feel Melkor would have been better off just letting his Mangudai fight that. They weren't getting out of there alive, but they could have traded that a lot better, I think, if he'd just taken the fight. But he's got the breathing room he needed for his siege push that he was about to mount, as a whole train of rams makes their way up the hill and will destroy these castles in seconds. And Rubenstock has few Mangudai to deal with this. Melkor's just made him lose quite a few in the back of his own base, and Melkor has as many, if not more, backing up his siege push. So Rubenstock will have to shoot the rams right now to stop his castles going down, and the Mangudai in behind will shoot Rubenstock's own Mangudai, which are downhill, and the rams will just take away the castles of Rubenstock and destroy his production facilities, which will seal the game for him, because at that point Melkor will have like 5-to-1 times the Mangudai production facility, and there is only one outcome after that, which is why Rubenstock is choosing this moment to call the GG just a few minutes after the restore, which was attempted multiple times. Can't blame him for wanting to play it out. He's fought his way to Game 7, but this is a comfortable victory for Melkor. Always on top, really, from the Boar Steel, getting early eco upgrades, earlier castle edge time, and then just playing it safe with a boom in the castle age, slowly branching out and taking map control, putting castles in good spots and getting all the 5 relics before distracting Rubenstock's army in the back of his base and then mounting a siege push on the front to finish it off. So Melkor survived the scare here. He was 3-2 down, with Rubenstock having game point for 2 consecutive matches, but he will go through, having been the favourite in this matchup at the start, and he will participate in the quarterfinals and potentially semi-finals and finals next weekend, streamed on this channel in their entirety by Niltford as part of his 36-hour stream, to say thank you to the community for crowdfunding his trip to China to cast the finals of Clan Masters live, which will be on the following weekend. So for the exact times of all that, do keep an eye on AOCZone.net on the event calendar on the right. I'm sure you'll hear more about it on this channel in the intervening time, but that's all for me this evening and for Vubly Official. We've had a good day packed full of different streaming. Unfortunately, not quite as much as we could have had, given that Viper and ACCM's match didn't occur. But I'm going to turn on the auto hosting bot and turn you over to some other streamers. So thanks for watching, guys, and like I said, keep an eye out for the next Clash of the Hippo games on AOCZone.net. We will have one on Thursday between MPL and 8th Wonder. Good night.